Hello everyone, this is Denise at Something Beautiful Handcrafts, and today I'm comparing Joss with 4 other face molds. Okay, so I have Samantha on the far right, followed by Marie Grace, Joss, of course, and Josefina. Now, I have to apologize for poor Marie Grace. I don't know what happened, but no matter how I stuff her, I can't seem to get her neck on right. I really haven't figured out what happened there. I might just have to take some stuffing out. Okay, so first of all, you should be able from this picture to see how very different the classic mold is from the Joss mold. And that was one of the things I was concerned about when I decided I wanted to collect the molds. And I was looking at Joss and trying to figure out exactly how different she really was from the classic mold. And so when you put them side to side, you can see that she has wider eyes. She actually does have a wider bridge of nose. Now, from this picture, it might not be as obvious, but face to face, it definitely is as obvious. She has a, let's see, her jawline is a little different from the classic mold. And of course, her chin is a little more shaped. I don't want to say pointy, but it is kind of a little more pointy than the classic mold. Now, of course, this particular Samantha is a Pleasant Company doll. So she is not completely representative anymore of the classic molds, but she's still a classic mold enough to tell what a classic mold is. So she works for now. Okay, now I have Joss next to Marie Grace. And if I had to say that the Joss mold resembles any other mold, I would say that I think she strongly resembles the Marie Grace mold. Not so much in the cheeks, but in the shape of her mouth, the size of her mouth, and her jawline. Now, let me point this out real quick. The Marie Grace jawline is it dimples in just a little bit. It's more rounded, and the Joss is much more dimpled and much kind of pointier, a little more chin down there than the Marie Grace. Those are things that they have similar when you compare them to the classic mold, but there's still some slight variation right there. So then we have Joss and Josefina. And I really think that Joss does very much resemble Josefina as well. And I kind of think of her as a variation on a combination of Josefina and Marie Grace. She shares that kind of the same eye and the wider across the distance between the two eyes. It's not quite the bridge, but I'm sure there is a medical name for that space. But it's wider. It's not as narrow as the classic mold is, and it's kind of flatter. And also, she has a rounder eye like Josefina does. Her nose, Joss's nose, is a little more upturned than Josefina's is, but it's not as wide as the classic mold. It doesn't seem as heavy either. And it's not as pronounced as Marie Grace's either. It's a little flatter. There's a little less nose on Joss than there is on Marie Grace, and also on Josefina. Josefina's nostrils are downturned a bit more than Joss's are too. And her cheeks, Josefina's cheeks, are more pronounced than Joss's. So you can see the similarities and differences. And she also has that chin it's more dimpled in than Marie Grace's is. It has that same dimple kind of shape right here. Kind of dimples in here, dimples in here. So she combines like the cheekbone, sort of, a little lower cheekbone, but the same kind of cheekbone as Marie Grace, the same kind of lips with that dimpled in chin from Josefina, and they both have wider eyes than the classic mold. Joss is really cool, and so far I'm really enjoying her. She has that flyaway hair too. And I'm gonna go ahead and put her and Mary Grace back to back so that you can compare the color of their hair. Okay, so in this light, it's a little odd. I don't really think you get the full really picture of what their hair color actually looks like. The camera kind of makes it look a little reddish for both of them. They look like they have a red undertone, but really, Mary Grace, her color is more like I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, but it's a really medium brown. It's got the blonde highlights, and so does Joss, except that Joss has more of a bright kind of copper to that brown. Let me see if I can get it in and get, okay, that looks a little better. So that with that kind of a little more coppery kind of look to their hair, well, to Joss's hair, just makes her hair look brighter and more vibrant than Mary Grace. And Mary Grace's hair is wonderful. I love the highlights all inside of it. But Joss's hair, and just has that sun-kissed California look. And so, let's see. Okay, it's just, you can see that much better hair. How it's just kind of a brighter hair color than Mary Grace. It is very beautiful. That's it for now. I'm really enjoying this Joss doll. I am going to make a DIY surfboard for her, and I'll show you that when I am done. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.